They actually toasted him. Crystal glasses raised. Smiles everywhere. My dad even wiped his eyes like this was some proud father moment. To Ethan, he said, "The future of our family properties. 8 rental buildings. All supposedly his." I sat there in silence while my aunts clapped and my cousins filmed it for Instagram. Then I asked the question that shattered the room. "Dad, before we celebrate, shouldn't we talk about the trust?" The clapping stopped. Ethan's smile froze. And for the first time in my life, everyone looked at me.
I'm 31.
And I've lived my entire life as the other child. Ethan was bold.
Loud. Charismatic.
He walked into rooms like he owned them. I walked into rooms and calculated them. My family owned 8 rental properties, small apartment buildings, and duplexes across 2 counties. They weren't glamorous, but they brought in steady 6-figure income every year. From the time I was 16, I heard the same script. Ethan has business instincts. Ethan understands risk. Ethan will expand the portfolio. Meanwhile, I was told, "You're too cautious. You overthink. You're not built for business." So I left for college out of state. Studied accounting and risk management. Graduated top of my class. Not one celebration dinner. But when Ethan refinanced one property and pulled out equity, they threw him a party. That should have told me everything. My grandmother, Helen, built those properties with my grandfather. She collected rent herself for decades. She remembered tenants' birthdays. When she got older, my dad convinced her to let Ethan take over operations. That's when things changed. Maintenance complaints increased. Vacancies rose. Cash flow dropped. But somehow Ethan was driving a new SUV. Grandma started asking me to review statements. At first, I didn't want to get involved. I knew what that would mean. But I looked anyway. And my stomach dropped. Over 3 years, $417,000 was unaccounted for. Fake repair invoices. Overstated contractor payments. Security deposits never returned but never logged. It wasn't sloppy bookkeeping. It was theft. Grandma didn't explode. She didn't confront Ethan. She did something smarter. She hired an estate attorney quietly. A revocable living trust was created. All 8 properties were transferred into it using properly recorded deeds. Trustee me. Successor beneficiary me. Effective immediately, but confidential while she was alive. I argued with her. This will destroy the family. She looked at me and said,
"No.
What he's doing will destroy it. I'm just stopping the damage." I was sworn to secrecy. No one, not even my father, knew. For 3 years, I let Ethan keep pretending he was in control. Because legally, he wasn't. When Grandma passed, the family moved fast. Too fast. Within weeks, Ethan started introducing himself as property owner to tenants. He talked about raising rents, selling one building, leveraging another. And then my parents invited me to dinner. They slid a paper across the table. A waiver. "Just sign this to confirm you're not contesting Ethan's inheritance." I read every line. Buried halfway down, I waive any present or future interest in properties held under family trust registration. Family trust. They had no idea. The properties weren't part of Grandma's probate estate. They were already in my trust. If I signed, I would hand Ethan assets worth over $3 million. I pushed the paper back.
No.
My dad's face hardened. Ethan leaned forward. "You're being petty." "No," I said calmly. "I'm being precise." 3 weeks later, they hosted what I call his coronation dinner. Formal invitations. Private dining room. Even a banner that read, "Next Generation Leadership." I wore black. And I brought copies. When my dad stood up to officially announce Ethan as owner of all 8 properties, I let him finish. Then I stood. "Before we finalize that, there's something you need to see." I walked to the center of the room and placed the recorded deeds on the table. Stamped. Dated 3 years ago. Filed with the county. Silence. Ethan laughed nervously. "What is this?" "Proof," I said. I explained the trust. The transfers. The dates. Then I placed one more document down. A forensic accounting summary, highlighting $417,000 missing under Ethan's management. You could hear people breathing. My aunt whispered, "That's not possible." "It is," I replied. "And it's traceable." Ethan's face turned red. "You went behind my back." "No," I said. "You stole from Grandma." He tried to argue. Said I fabricated it. Said Grandma wasn't competent. Until I showed the attorney's letter. And the recorded trust amendment. Legally airtight. My father looked like the floor had dropped out from under him. Ethan stormed out. But here's what made it real. The next morning, I sent formal notices to tenants. New management. Stabilized rent. Transparent accounting. Within months, occupancy improved. Repairs were made. Cash flow normalized. No luxury SUV payments draining the books. People think this was revenge. It wasn't just that. It was protection.
But I won't lie.
Standing there watching the room go silent, after decades of being dismissed, after being told I wasn't built for this, that moment felt earned. They thought I was the quiet daughter who got nothing. What they didn't realize, I was the one Grandma trusted with everything. And the difference between Ethan and me? He wanted control. I wanted accountability. And, in the end, the paperwork doesn't lie. If you enjoyed the story, there are more waiting for you here. And the next one, it might hit even harder.